Yeah, I'm Shaggy. I'm Phil Aletheia. This is the Something to Do, parenthetical about nothing, close parenthetical podcast. And today I'm going to be reading for you some more ancient Greek literature. The reason I'm doing that is because I need to contextualize as well as I can within my means and with what's available to us, frankly, what still survives. In order to continue moving on in the way that I want to with Plato's work. And so, if I'm going to show you why Plato wrote in the way he did, and I want you to see what I see when I read it, you really do need to just understand the Greece of his century and the centuries before it. Because what you're going to get from people who aren't me is people who understand the Greece and philosophy, frankly, of later centuries, but who aren't going to understand the culture of those centuries. They're not interested in the plays, and they're not interested in the poems and the mythology and the songs and the religion. They're interested in the philosophy because they're trying to get at the dictates, because they think that the diktat is going to tell them how to be intellectually superior to their intellectual peers. And we're not about that. We're not about superiority around here. Ever. If I see even my audience doing it to people who are outside my audience when they're doing it to me, I will criticize my audience for it as well. Nobody is better than anybody else, no matter how much further along the path you are or how much higher above the mountain you are. And I could have done this in reverse order, where I could have done Hesiod's Theogony, but I've engaged with Hesiod's Theogony. Again, I've done a lot of this on the Patreon because there was a time where I thought that my ability to engage with the internet was going to be interrupted, maybe for years, by this homelessness. But it hasn't, by the grace of God. And so by the grace of God, I am going to continue, and that means that a lot of what I've already done on the Patreon, I'm going to have to do again on YouTube. And so that makes the Patreon stuff, it makes it, when I do it again, the first version becomes now a collector's item, and it becomes worth the $20 or whatever I'm charging for it. And so instead of reading Hesiod's Theogony and introducing the character that we're going to be dramatically representing or presenting to you for the first time here in the play that I'm going to be reading for you, I need to tell you a few things. Greek theater was different than our theater. I believe it was done over 3 days, but it was also contests. So when they got together, and they weren't amphitheaters. Amphitheaters are Roman. When they went to their theaters, they did so typically on holy days, like festivals. Getting to see a play wasn't something that you could just go and do in the middle of a day on a Wednesday like we can do today. Not really a play, but you understand what I mean. You can do that with a movie. And so, young kids, if you stumble across this at any time in your maturation, understand that this is the year 2025, and adults of many age groups are annoyed by the way you're behaving in Minecraft, because theater, film, even going to the movies, used to be a sacred and holy and religious experience. Culture is religion in every way. Government is also religion. And so if you participate in either of those things and you aren't religious, you're culturally appropriating. You understand what I'm saying? You aren't participating in a healthy way. Okay? And so this is why children, you're allowed to do whatever you want. You're allowed to do whatever you want. But this is why people are annoyed with you. Okay. And so the theater in Greece, circa 500 BCE, let's just pinpoint it around then, okay? Circa 500 BCE, theater in Greece was a religious spectacle. It was extremely sacred. Even if some of the comedies could be very bawdy and inappropriate in modern terms. So we're not going to be doing a comedy today. Some of them are also very, very funny. Highly recommend. There's one about the Athenian wives striking during the Peloponnesian War that I would highly recommend you at least read the Cliff Notes about. It is very funny. Anyway, I think they were performed over 3 days. I know that they were largely improvised on the spot by the writer. The writer had to write it that day. He could not come in with, like we would do today. Like, you cannot come in with your already finished script. You had to write it that day. It was a contest among all these different writers, and then they would judge the best one, and he would basically get the year off. Okay, he would be very, very well paid in food and women and housing. Okay, so this play that I'm about to read for you, I am going to butcher, because I have not memorized this, and I am not trained as a Greek actor. The Greek actors were very good. They could read these things one time, have them memorized, and go and perform them. It was very much, Greek theater was very much the production cycle of the show Community. Very, very, we got to get this done, because it's the same actors for all of the playwrights, is my understanding. If you know better than I do, please get in the comments and tell me. I'll probably just read your comment as shorthand for supplemental material for this video, because if I'm understanding wrong, understand I'm not an expert in this. It's just something that I like a lot, and it's not anything I ever thought that I was going to do a public presentation about. I just love this material, and what I realize is that I'm the only person reading it. And what I also realize is that the people who are reading it aren't reading it in public. They aren't reading it dramatically in public, and they don't love it in the same kind of way that I do. And so I want to teach you that there are different kinds of ways to love things than how professional academics want you to believe. Because there are centuries of the questions that you ask me, like, why are you doing this, or why do you think I should give you money for doing this? There are centuries of arguments about that underscoring academe as it is today. And so I don't have to answer those questions to you. Those questions have been answered for 3,000 years. In fact, approaching 6,000 years. Maybe even 7. Really, I just don't. And you can call that arrogance, but there's 7,000 years of history that you could have already engaged with, because I was engaging with it by the time I was in first grade. So you could have. If I could have by 6 years old, you could have by 7. I mean, it's possible. And so the book we're going to be reading, the play we're going to be reading, we only have the first of the trilogy. Okay? That's not irrelevant, because this doesn't get a satisfying ending in the way that you want, because their 3-act structure was over the course of 3 plays. So what we're going to be reading is called Prometheus Bound. This book is important to me. I relate very much. When I listened to this the first time, I was in grinding domestic abuse, trying to make a podcast, trying to write a book about wisdom literature, about the religious experience, about, well, what I am now. And it was, my flame was being kept under a bushel the whole time for 5 years, just constant psychological torture. And so these people that want to approach my channel and try to give me some of that don't understand how long I've been working through that. 37, it'll be 38 years in July, and just how good I've gotten at intellectual judo with these people, so that I can just get them to go away and find me dissatisfying without also hurting them. And so that's important to me. And so if you find my approach hurting you, you got to let me know, so that we can undo the damage, because that's not me doing it. That's your life. That's the path that you've been on. That is the way. That's why I'm reading the Tao for you. Okay. And so one of the things that's important for you to understand is that there's a chorus, and then most of what these are is just it's the dialogue. It's just characters standing on stage basically reciting poetry to one another. And a lot of it was sung, and I'm just not doing any of that. Okay? But this dedication is going to have a person. That's how it begins. It begins with a dedication. A person's going to come out and speak directly to the audience. And so that's where we're getting. This is not a character that you need to know. They're just telling the audience what they're about to watch, what you're about to listen to. Take thou this gift from out the grave of time. The urns of Greece lie shattered, and the cup that for Athenian lips the muses filled, and flowery crowns that on Athenian hair hid the cicala, freedom's golden sign, dust and the dust have fallen. Calmly sad the marble dead upon Athenian tombs speak from their eyes farewell, and well have fared, they and the saddened friends whose clasping hands win from the solemn stone eternity. Yea, well they fared unto the evening God, passing beyond the limit of the world, where face to face the son his mother saw, a living man, a shadow, while she spake words that Odysseus and that Homer heard. I too, O child, I reached the common doom, the grave, the goal of fate, and passed away. Such, Anticleia, as thy voice to him, across the dim gray gulf of death and time is that of Greece, a mother's to a child, mother of each whose dreams are grave and fair, who sees the Naiad where the streams are bright, and in the sunny ripple of the sea, Cimacide with floating golden hair, and in the whisper of the waving oak, hears still the Dryad's plaint, and in the wind that sighs through moonlit woodlands, knows the horn of Artemis and silver shafts and bow. Therefore, if still around this broken vase, borne by rough hands, unworthy of their load, far from Cephisus, far from Cephisus and the wandering rills, there cling a fragrance as of things once sweet, of honey from Hymettus' desert hill. Take thou the gift and hold it close and dear, for gifts that die have living memories, voices of unreturning days that breathe the spirit of a day that never dies. And then this is the argument, and I don't exactly know who's speaking here, but it's probably another person come forward from the Greek chorus, is what it's called, the chorus. And so you understand what a chorus line is. And so these people are used very similarly to how the witches are used in Macbeth, I think is the Shakespeare. I never planned to be this guy that I'm doing this thing. So, bear with me. I'm not a professional. Thus the argument. Io, the daughter of Inachus, king of Argos, was beloved of Zeus, but Hera was jealous of that love, and by her ill will was Io given over to frenzy, and her body took the semblance of a heifer. And Argus, a many-eyed herdsman, was set to Hera to watch Io whithersoever she strayed. Yet, in despite of Argus, did Zeus draw nigh unto her in the shape of a bull, and by the will of Zeus and the craft of Hermes was Argus slain. Then Io was driven over far lands and seas by her madness, and came at length to the land of Egypt. There was she restored to herself by a touch of the hand of Zeus, and bare a child called Epiphus. And from Epiphus sprang Libya, and from Libya Belus, and from Belus Aegyptus and Danaus. And from the sons of Aegyptus the sons of Aegyptus willed to take the daughters of Danaus in marriage. But the maidens held such wedlock and horror, and fled their father over the sea to Argos. And the king and citizens of Argos gave them shelter and protection from their pursuers. And so now, if you don't know, this does not accurately describe, but this does a fair, accurate attempt at describing the world of 1,000 years or more before the 500s BC. This is trying to describe the transition from the Stone Age to the Bronze Age in Greece. It's doing a bad job, but it's as far as archaeological accuracy. But it's doing a fair good job in imagining what 1,000 to maybe 10,000 years before this might have been like. That's where this is set in time. Sorry, I thought that I did. Here we go. And now this is a new chapter titled The Suppliant Maidens. And then here are the characters in this scene. Danaus, the king of Argos, herald of Aegyptus. a herald of Aegyptus. Obviously, Aegyptus is Egypt, but they're using this word Aegyptus so that the listener, the hearer, isn't thinking about the dynastic Egypt. This is trying to say before dynastic Egypt, there were kings in Egypt who were related to the Danites, who were the tribe of the Iliad, who become Greece. Okay. Chorus of daughters of Danaus, attendants. Scene, a sacred precinct near the gates of Argos. Statues and shrines of Zeus and other deities stand around. Chorus. Zeus, Lord and guard of suppliant hands, look down benign on us who crave thine aid, whom winds and waters drave from where through drifting, shifting sands pour Nilus to the wave, from where the green land God possessed closes and fronts the Syrian waste. We flee as exiles, yet unbanned by murderers' sentence from our land. But since Aegyptus had decreed his son should wed his brother's seed, ourselves we tore from bronze aboard, from wedlock not of heart but hand, nor brooked to call a kinsman lord, and Danaus our sire and guide, the king of counsel, pondering well the dice of fortune as they fell. Out of two griefs the kindlier chose, and bade us fly with him beside, heedless what winds or waves arose, and o'er the wide sea waters haste, until to Argus shore at last our wandering pinnacle or pinnace came. Argus, the immemorial home of her from whom we boast a comb, Io, the ox-horned maiden home, after long wandering woe and scathe, Zeus, with a touch, a mystic breath, made mother of our name. Therefore, of all the lands of earth, of this most gladly step we forth, and in our hands aloft we bear sole weapon for a suppliant's wear, the olive shoot with wool enwound, city and land and waters wan, of Inachus and gods most high, and yet who, deep beneath the ground, bring vengeance weird on mortal man. Weird here means magical. Brings vengeance magical on mortal man, powers of the grave. On you we cry, and unto Zeus the Savior, guard of mortals' holy purity. Receive ye us, keep watch and ward above the suppliant maidens' band. Chaste be the heart of this your land towards the weak, but ere the throng, the wanton swarm, from Egypt sprung, leap forth upon the silted shore, thrust back their sift-rowed bark again, repel them, urge them to the main, and there, mid storm and lightning shine, and scudding drift and thunder's roar, deep death be theirs in stormy brine. Before they felly grasp and win us, maiden children of their kin, and climb the couch by law denied, and wrong each weak, reluctant bride. And now on her I call mine ancestress, who far on Egypt's shore a young cow's semblance wore, a maiden once by Hera's malice changed, and then on him withal, who, as amid the flowers the grazing creature ranged, was in her by a breath of Zeus conceived, and, as the hour of birth drew nigh, by fate fulfilled, unto the light he came, and Epiphus for name. Born from the touch of Zeus the child received. On him I cry, and him for patron hold, while in this grassy vale I stand, where Io roamed of old. And here, recounting all her toil and pain, signs will I show to those who rule the land, that I am child of hers, and all shall understand. Hearing the doubtful tale of the dim past made plain, and ere the end shall be, each man the truth of what I tell shall see, and if there dwell hard by one skilled to read from bird notes augury, that man, when through his ears shall thrill our tearful wail, shall deem he hears the voice, the plaintive tale, of her, the piteous spouse of Tereus, lord of guile, whom the hawk harries yet, the morning nightingale. She, from her happy home and fair streams scared away, while wails wild and sad for haunts beloved erewhile. Yea, and for Italus, well a day, slain by her own, his mother's hand, maddened by lustful wrong, the deed by Tereus planned. Like her I wail and wail in soft Ionian tones, and as she wastes, even so wastes my soft cheek, once ripe with Nilus suns, and all my heart dissolves in utter woe. Sad flowers of grief I cull, fleeing from kinsman's love unmerciful. Yea, from the clutching hands the wanton crowd I sped across the waves from Egypt's land of cloud. Gods of the ancient cradle of my race, hear me, just gods, with righteous grace. On me look down. Grant not to youth its heart's unchaste desire, but, swiftly spurning lust's unholy fire, bless only love and willing wedlock's crown. The war-worn flyers from the battle's rack find refuge at the hallowed altar side, the sanctuary divine. Ye gods, such refuge unto me provide. Such sanctuary be mine. Though the deep will of Zeus be hard to track, yet doth it flame and glance, a beacon in the dark mid clouds of chance, that wrap mankind. Yea, though the counsel fall, undone it shall not lie. Whate'er be shaped and fixed within Zeus' ruling mind, dark as a solemn grove with somber leafage shaded, his paths of purpose wind, a marvel to man's eye. Smitten by him from towering hopes degraded, mortals lie low and still, tireless and effortless, works forth its will, the arm divine. God from his holy seat and calm of unarmed power brings forth the deed at its appointed hour. Let him look down on mortal wantonness. Lo, how the youthful stock of Bellus's line craves for me uncontrolled, with greed and madness bulled. Urged on by passion's sunless stress, and cheated, learns too late the prey has scaped their hold. Ah, listen to my grievous tale, my sorrow's words, my shrill and tearful cries. Ah woe! Loud with lament these accents use, and from my living lips my own sad dirges flow. O Appian land of hill and dale, thou kennest yet, O land, this faltered foreign wail. Have mercy, hear my prayer. Lo, how again I rend and tear my woven raiment, and from off my hair cast the Sidonian veil. Ah, but if fortune's smile, if death be driven away, vowed rites with eager haste, we to the gods will pay. Alas again, oh, whither drift the waves, and who shall loose the pain? O Appian land of hill and dale, thou kennest yet, O land, this faltered foreign wail. Have mercy, hear my prayer. Lo, how again I rend and tear my woven raiment, and from off my hair cast the Sidonian veil. The wafting o'er the bark with woven sail, from which the sea foamed back, sped me, unharmed of storms, along the breeze's track. But be it unblamed of me. But ah, the end of my emprise. May he, the Father with all-seeing eyes, grant me that end to see. Grant that henceforth, unstained as heretofore, I may escape the forced embrace of those proud children of the race that sacred Io bore. Give me just a moment, because this is emotional, and beautiful, and sung. I believe this is an hectameter, probably Ionian pentameter is what this is in, maybe, and so it's got a rhythm, and so there might or there might not be music playing, but this is the rhythm. This is the cadence with the beat. And so when people ask me, like, why don't you like hip-hop? I'm like, because this is so much better, and it's the same thing. And thou, O maiden goddess chaste and pure, queen of the inner fane, look of thy grace on me, O Artemis. Look of thy grace on me, O Artemis, thy willing suppliant, thine it is, who from the lustful onslaught fled secure, to grant that I too, without stain, the shelter of thy purity may gain. Grant that henceforth unstained as heretofore I may escape, I may escape the forced embrace of those proud children of the race that sacred Io bore. Yet if this may not be, we, the dark race sun-smitten, we will speed with suppliant wands to Zeus, who rules below with hospitable hands. Wands, Hans, who welcomes all the dead from all the lawns. Yea, by our own hands strangled we will go, spurned by Olympian gods unto the gods below. Zeus, hear and save the searching poisonous hate that Io vexed and drave. Was of a goddess, well I know, the bitter ire, the wrathful woe of Hera, queen of heaven, a storm aland her breath, whereby we yet are driven. Bethink thee what dispraise of Zeus himself mankind will raise, if now he turn his face averted from our cries. Yeah, so one of the things you can do back then, still in poetry, is pronounce words wrong. So this should be, bethink thee what dispraise of Zeus himself mankind will rise, if now he turn his face averted from our cries. If now, dishonored and alone, the ox-horned maiden's race shall be undone. Children of Epiphus, his own begotten son. Zeus, listen from on high, to thee our prayers arise. Zeus, hear and save the searching poisonous hate that Io vexed and drave. Was of a goddess, well I know, the bitter ire, the wrathful woe of Hera, queen of heaven, a storm her breath, whereby we yet are driven. And then this is Danaus speaking. Children, be wary, wary he with whom ye come, your trusty seer and steersman old, and that same caution hold I here on land, and bid you hoard my words, inscribing them on memory's tablets. Lo, I see afar dust, voiceless herald of a host. Arise, and hark! Within their grinding sockets ring axles of hurrying wheels. I see approach borne in curved cars by speeding horses drawn, a speared and shielded band. The chiefs, perchance, of this their land are hitherward intent to look on us, of whom they have yet heard by messengers alone. But come who may, and come he, peaceful or in ravening wrath, spurred on his path. 'Twere best, in any case, damsels, to cling unto this altar mound, made sacred to their gods of festival. A shrine is stronger than a tower to save, a shield that none may clave. Step swift thereto, and in your left hands hold with reverence the white-crowned wands of suppliants, the sign, beloved of Zeus, compassion's Lord, and speak to those that question you words meek and low and piteous, as beseems your stranger state, clearly avowing of this flight of yours the bloodless clause. And on your utterance see to it well that modesty attend. From downcast eyes, from brows of pure control, let chastity look forth. Nor when ye speak be voluble nor eager, that they that dwell within this land are sternly swift to chide, and be your words submissive. Heed this well, for weak ye are, outcasts on stranger lands, and forward talk beseems not strengthless hands. What he's saying is, you're foreigners. Maybe don't act like Karens in public, and maybe put on clothes, and like, I'm an important person here, so maybe now that you know that, don't try to sleep with me. That would be a serious social faux pas. That's what he's saying to these women. And then the chorus sing. I should have been doing this in a female voice, but there are no women on stage, so bear with me. I'll do this one in a higher pitched voice for you. O Father, warily to us aware, thy words are spoken, and thy wisdom best. My mind shall hoard with Zeus our sire to aid. Even so, with gracious aspect let him aid. Fain were I now to seat me by thy side, Now dally not, but put our thought in act. Zeus, pity our distress, or ere we die. If so he will, your toils to joy will turn. Lo, on this shrine the semblance of a bird. And so they're before a shrine, and she's like, look, a bird. Like a carving of a bird. And Danaus says, Zeus's bird of dawn it is, invoke the sign. Thus I invoke the saying, the saving rays of morn. Next, bright Apollo, exiled once from heaven. The exiled god will pity our exile. Yea, may he pity, giving grace and aid. Whom next I invoke, I, of these other gods. Lo, here a trident, symbol of a god. Who gave sea safety, may he bless on land. This is obviously Poseidon. This next is Hermes, carved in Grecian wise. Then let him herald help to freedom won. Lastly, adore this altar consecrate to many lesser gods in one. Then crouch on holy ground a flock of doves that flee, scared by no alien hawks, akin not kind, hateful, and fain of love more hateful still. Foul is the bird that rends another bird, and foul the men who hail unwilling maids. From sire unwilling to the bridal bed, never on earth nor in the lower world shall lewdness such as theirs escape the ban. There too, if men say right, a god there is who upon dead men turns their sin to doom. To final doom. Take heed, draw hitherward, that from this hap your safety ye may win. Sorry, I don't know what's happening. Suddenly I have the hiccups. Okay. So that's Danaus. And then suddenly the king of Argos enters the stage. The king of Argos. Speak! Of what land are ye? No Grecian band is this to whom I speak? With eastern robes and wrappings richly dight, no Argive maid, no woman in all Greece such garb doth wear. This too gives marvel, how unto this land, unheralded, unfriended, without guide, and without fear ye came. Yet wands I see, true sign of suppliants, by you laid down on shrines of these our gods of festival. No land but Greece can read such signs aright. Much else there is, conjecture well might guess, but let words teach the man who stands to hear. And then the chorus responds, True is the word thou speakest of my garb, but speak I unto thee as citizen, or Hermes wand-bearer, or chieftain king? The king of Argos responds, For that take heart and answer without fear. I am Pelasgus, ruler of this land, child, that's a name, of Peleichthon. Yep, Peleichthon is how I'm reading that. Whom the earth brought forth, and rightly named from me, the race who reap this country's harvests, are Pelasgian called, and o'er the wide and westward stretching land, through which the lucent wave of Strymon flows, I rule. Perhebea's land, my boundary, is northward, and Pindus's farther slopes, that watch Paeonia, and Dodona's mountain ridge, west, east, the limit of the washing seas, restrains my rule. The interspace is mine, but this whereon we stand is Appian land, styled so of old from the great healer's name. For Apis, coming from Naupactus' shore, beyond the strait, child of Apollo's, self, and like him seer and healer, cleanse this land from man-devouring monsters, whom the earth, stained with polluted of old blood shedding, brought forth in malice, beasts of ravening jaws, a grisly throng, of serpents manifold. A serpent thong is a very different thing. That's more Medusa's move. And healings of their hurt by knife and charm, Apis devised, unblamed of Argive men, and in their prayers found honor for reward. Lo, Thou hast heard the tokens that I give. Speak now thy race, and tell a forthright tale. In sooth, this people loves not many words. Sooth means true. And so when you hear people saying, soothsayer, right? You hear that word? It means truth speaker. And so on some levels, I could be shaggy sooth lover, if you understand, in English or early English, Proto-English. The chorus responds, Short is my word and clear. Of Argive race we come, from her, the ox-horned maiden, who erst bare the sacred child. My word shall give whate'er establish this soothfast tale. I would like to break in now and just say for a moment, I once got into an argument, with a neo-pagan witch who said that the old myths were just anthropomorphizations of natural phenomenon. And I would like to know if she's read this story. Okay, moving on. The King of Argos says in his very melodramatic way, O stranger maids, I may not trust this word, that ye have share in this our Argive race. No likeness of our country do ye bear, but semblance as of Libyan womankind. That means she looks like North African. Even such a stock of Nilus's banks might grow, yea, and the Cyprian stamp in female forms shows to the life what males impressed the name, and furthermore of roving Indian maids, whose camping grounds by Ethiopia lie, and camels burden even as mules, and bearing riders as horses bear, mine ears have heard. And what he's saying is, I've heard of your land. I know that Libya exists. I know you look Libyan. You have dark skin like an Ethiopian. Not a dummy. You don't have Argivan. You don't have Southern Greek ancestry. You can't. Which is wrong, actually. It's totally possible that in the Stone Age, when this is set, and before, that, and of course, we know that out of Africa happened many times. So he's wrong. And the author is speaking ancient knowledge, which is called wisdom. And so when people think that Plato in the Phaedrus, which is still what we're working toward, is speaking deeply ancient wisdom, he doesn't have to have gotten it from anywhere. He could have just figured it out from the myths that were available to him. I think this actually came after, after Plato. I think that Aeschylus, I think, is who this is attributed to, and I think that he was young when Plato was old. That's not my point. If Aeschylus did it, Plato could have done it, and the people like Hesiod could have done it. That's my point. And furthermore, goes on the king of the Pelasgians, of roving Indian maids, whose camping grounds by Ethiopia lie, and camels burdened even as mules and bearing riders, as horses bear, mine ears have heard, and tales of flesh-devouring, mateless maids, called Amazons. To these, if bows ye bear, I most had deemed you like. He says that you're big and strong and powerful and dark-skinned, and if you were missing a tit and you were carrying bows, I would think you were Amazons. Speak further yet, that of your Argive birth, the truth I learn. So he wants to know. And the women of the chorus say, Here in this Argive land, so runs the tale, Io was priestess once of Hera's fane. Fane, I believe, means tribe, effectively. The king of Argos says, Yea, truth it is, and far this word prevails. Is't said, he's saying, is it not said? Isn't it said that Zeus with, maybe he's just saying it is said. Is't said that Zeus with mortal mingled love? Aye, and that Hera that embrace surmised. How issued then this strife of those on high? And so what he's saying is effectively like, oh, I see. So your ancient people are descendants of Io and Zeus, and so why did they argue? And why are you from so far away, and why are we here? And the chorus says, By Hera's will, a heifer she became. And so this is a story that's in, I believe, that's in Ovid's Metamorphoses. So hit that like button. Let me know in the comments. Hit that subscribe button. And if you really, really want me to read Ovid's Metamorphoses, you can buy it for me as a gift with an Amazon gift card, or you can just outright buy the Kindle version, which is how I'm accessing Aeschylus's Prometheus Bound. I actually already owned this before deciding to read. I'll tell you when I buy it with Patreon subscriber money or donations from having done these, but most of this work I have already owned and read a few times. And so the King of Argos wants to know, well, why are you from so far away? How did if we have like similar genetics, why are you from so far away? And the chorus responds, well, by Hera's will, our Grand Cyrus, our Grand Cyrus, not our patriarch, but our matriarch, she was turned into a heifer and sent to Libya. And the King of Argos says, held Zeus aloof, then, from the horned beast? And what he's asking is, so he didn't get her pregnant? And the chorus responds, 'tis said he loved in semblance of a bull. Then, yet he found her and slept with her. And the King of Argos responds, and his stern consort, did she aught thereon? What did she do after that? And the chorus answers, one myriad-eyed she set the heifer's guard. I don't know what that means. How namest thou this herdsman many-eyed? Argus, the child of earth, whom Hermes slew. Argus is a titan of, I want to say he's like the dome, but I'm probably wrong about that. I don't actually know. It might just be blue. But he is probably the patron titan of Argos. And then so the King of Argos says, still, did the goddess vex the beast ill-starred? I don't know what that means. Or the beast ill-starred? And so what he's saying, did the goddess Hera then curse Io as a heifer? And the chorus responds, she wrought a gadfly with a goading sting. And so the answer is that yes, that she was punished with a bug that was biting her. And the King of Argos asks, thus drave she Io hence to roam afar? Yea, this thy word coheres exact with mine. Then to Canopus and to Memphis came she, and by Zeus' hand was touched, and bare a child. Who vaunts him, the Zeus-mated creature's son? Epiphus, named rightly from the saving touch, and whom in turn did Epiphus beget? Libya, with name of a wide land endowed, and who from her was born unto the race? Belus, from him 2 sons, my father one. Speak now. Excuse me, I don't know why I get hiccups from this. It's probably my posture. And who from her was born unto the race? Belus, from him 2 sons, my father one. Speak now to me his name, this greybeard wise. Revere the gods thus encrowned, who steer the state. Awe thrills me, seeing these shrines with leafage crowned. Yea, stern, the wrath of Zeus, the suppliant's lord, child of Peleichthon, royal chief of thy Pelasgians, hear, bow down thine heart to my relief, a fugitive, a suppliant, swift with fear, a creature whom the wild wolves chase o'er toppling crags, in piteous case, aloud, afar she lows, calling her herdsman's trusty arm to save her from her foes. Lo, with bowed heads beside our city shrines, ye sit neath shade of new-plucked olive boughs, our distant kin's resentment heaven forfend. Let not this hap, unhoped and unforeseen, bring war on us, for strife we covet not. Justice, the daughter of right-dealing Zeus, justice, the queen of suppliants, look down, that this our plight no ill may loose upon your town. this word, even from the young let age and wisdom learn. If thou to suppliant show grace, thou shalt not lack heaven's grace in turn. So long as virtue's gifts on heavenly shrines have place. Not at my private hearth ye sit and sue, and if the city bear a common stain, be it the common toil to cleanse the same. Therefore no pledge, no promise will I give, ere counsel with the commonwealth be held. Nay, but the source of sway, the city's self, art thou, a power unjudged, thine, only thine, to rule the right of hearth and shrine. Before thy throne and scepter all men bow. Thou, in all cases, Lord, beware the curse divine. The king of Argos then says, May that curse fall upon mine enemies. I cannot aid you without risk of scathe, nor scorn your prayers, unmerciful it were. Plexed, distraught I stand, and fear alike the twofold chance, to do or to not to do. So, there's a mystery, people are like, oh, I wonder how Shakespeare, Well, if you're quoting old poems. Anyway, that's how the oral tradition works, Gil. That's how these actors were able to memorize this stuff so quickly, is because it's extremely reverential. Or not, well, yeah, that too. Referential. And so, that's how your rappers are able to remember their lyrics. You know how Eminem has, massive stage fright and he's actually, really bad live? Okay. It's because he writes a lot of words. And so you know how, songs are typically pretty repetitive? Okay. Enough criticism of modern literature. The chorus. Have heed of him who looketh from on high, the guard of woeful mortals, whosoever unto their fellows cry, and find no pity, find no justice there. Abiding in his wrath, the suppliant's Lord doth smite, unmoved by cries, unbent by prayerful word. And so, real quick, do you know what a suppliant is? It's a religious person. It's a person, seeking suppliants. It's a person who's just trying to, worship. So she's saying, you're worshipers, effectively, when she says suppliants, or anyone says suppliants. The king of Argos then says, But if Aegyptus' children grasp you here, claiming your country's right, or their country's right, to hold you theirs, as next of kin, who dares to counter this? Plead ye your country's laws, if plead ye may, that upon you they lay no lawful hand. Let me not fall, oh, nevermore, a prey into the young men's hand, rather than wed whom I abhor. By pilot stars I flee this land. O king, take justice to thy side, and with the righteous powers decide. Okay, pausing again. You know how feminists, in the last century, are oh man, ancient women were bossed around and had to do whatever they want. No, there was no voice for them to complain about their marriages and the way they were treated. Ahem. This was written by a man. The king of Argos then says, Hard is the cause, make me not judge thereof. He's saying, I do not want to get involved in you and your marital problems. Already I have vowed it, to do not save after counsel with my people taken. King though I be, that ne'er and after time, if ill fate chance, my people then may say, in aid of strangers thou the state hast slain. And so that's a quote from another poem. And so what he's saying is, when it comes to foreign politics, I absolutely ask my noble people and my councils, and as many of my regular people as possible, because what I'm not doing is coming to them and saying, so we're in a war now because I decided that I was going to annul a foreign marriage. That's good politics, is what that is. The chorus then responds, Zeus, lord of kinship, rules at will the swaying balance and surveys evil and good to men of ill. Gives evil and to good men praise, and to thou, since true those scales do sway, Shall thou from justice shrink away? A saving counsel here there needs, and I, that like a diver to the depth of dark perplexity can pass and see undizzied, unconfused. First must we care that to the state and to ourselves this thing shall bring no ruin. Next, that wrangling hand shall grasp you not as prey, nor we ourselves betray. You thus embracing sacred shrines, nor make the avenging, all-destroying God, who not in hell itself sets dead men free, a grievous inmate, and abiding bane. Spake I not right of saving counsels need? And so, like, this whole neo-pagan thing where, like, nature is nice and, like, the gods are anthropomorphizations, what you need to understand is that this theology is not at all different from Jewish theology as captured in the Bible in the exact same century and before. This book, not unlike what I demonstrated for you with Job in my live reading that you'll just may or may not ever get to watch unless you subscribe to the Patreon and ask me directly for it in the email available to you on the Patreon, is casting itself back into an anachronistic prehistory on purpose. Because you may or may not know where Prometheus is right now, but this story is called Prometheus Bound. And so the prologue is getting us to some place that you're probably aware of. And so, yeah, there are people in the audience the first time this was performed who were like, oh my God, let's move this along. In the same way that you do to modern movies. And so the point is that what the king here is saying is absolutely not. Zeus, God. Zeus means God in the same way that Adonai means God. And Adonai is actually the same figure as Adonis in the Greek mythology. And so what he's saying here is absolutely not. The God of all things, the highest God, the God of gods, destroys humans for doing things that he doesn't like. And I don't know whether he has blessed this marriage, and I'm not getting involved for no reason. Justice's name invoked or not. And invoking justice was invoking a God, not an abstract idea. And so when she says, in the name of justice, you're not willing to help me? And he's like, absolutely the fuck not. Justice is an inferior goddess to Zeus. I am answering you in the name of Zeus. Fuck no. The chorus responds, yea, counsel take and stand to aid at justice's side and mine. Betray not me, the timorous maid, whom far beyond the brine a godless violence cast forth forlorn. The brine is the Mediterranean, but so you can understand like why we call like the Atlantic, like whatever we call it, the pond. O king, wilt thou behold, lord of this land, wilt thou behold me torn from altars manifold? Bethink thee of the young men's wrath and lust, hold off their evil pride, steal not thyself to see the suppliant thrust from hallowed statues' side. Hailed by the frontlet on my forehead bound, as steeds are led and drawn by hands that drag from shrine and altar mound. And so you understand that she's wearing a circlet around her head. Not very different from the uraeus crown that Egyptian priestesses and basically ladies in waiting, priestesses waiting for royal marriages would wear. And so he's like, you're dressed like an Egyptian, you look like a Libyan, you speak like an Ethiopian, and yet you're telling me that your matron goddess is from here and from Argos, and that I'm supposed to protect your Argivan genetic purity by marrying you myself? Fuck no, that's going to result in war. And she continues, my vestures fringed lawn. And so like her robes are fringed with tassels and stuff. Know thou that whether for Egyptus' race thou dost their wish fulfill, or for the gods and for each holy place, be thy choice good or ill. Blow is with blow requited, grace with grace, such is Zeus's righteous will. And so, if you're thinking like I am as you're listening to this about the Abraham story, there's a reason that Egypt in this time period and in the time that Torah was being written are being referred to as the place where you can come from with magical knowledge. And the reason is called the Late Bronze Age collapse, and there's actually a name of the kingdom and the period. I don't remember what it's called. It might actually be the Amarna period, where Egypt basically was evacuated of educated people. So the king of Argos, and that was circa 1177 BC. There's a book by that title. And so this poem, this play is at least 600, maybe 700 years later. And so there's a deep cultural memory of the Late Bronze Age collapse, because the Greece as we know it was effectively a city-state vassal of the Mycenaeans, who were once something like a city-state vassal to the Minoans, and the Mycenaeans collapsed utterly as a result of the Late Bronze Age collapse. They disappeared entirely, so entirely that we can't even translate their earliest language. Linear A, I think, is the one that we can't translate. And so that event, that civilization, Linear A disappearing, Linear B becomes the Greek they're writing in at this time. But so the disappearance of this people, it left a deep cultural wound. And so that's what this play is about. It's about that cultural wound. The Jewish people weren't the only people that had a sort of diaspora moment. The whole Mediterranean did, circa 1177 BC. So the king of Argos, who's an established kingdom that remembers culturally, but doesn't have to believe your claims. He probably hears this claim from every woman who comes into, every foreign woman who comes into his kingdom, is kind of the implication here. The king of Argos says, "Yea, I have pondered. From the sea of doubt, here drives at length the bark of thought ashore. Landward with screw and windlass hailed and firm, clamped to her prop she lies. The need is stern. With men or gods a mighty strife, we strive, perforce, and either hap and grief concludes. For, if a house be sacked, new wealth for old, not hard it is to win. Not hard it is to win. If Zeus, the lord of treasure, favor, more than quits the loss, enough to pile the shore of wealth full high. Or, if a tongue shoot forth untimely speech, bitter and strong to goad a man to wrath, soft words there be to soothe that wrath away. But what device shall make the war of kin bloodless, that woe the blood of many beasts, and victims manifold to many gods, alone can cure? Right glad I were to shun this strife, and am more fain of ignorance than of the wisdom of a woe endured. The gods send better than my soul foretells." And so basically what he's saying is, no way in hell. There's just no way in this life or any other life. He says the gods are bitter to soothe. And moreover, he's saying, like, I can't even predict how the gods are going to react to this. I can't foretell how this is going to go down. No. And the chorus responds, "Of many cries for mercy, hear the end. Say on then, for it shall not scape mine ear. Girdles we have, and bands that bind our robes." She's saying, we'll offer you this as, what's that called? I didn't mean to be talking about ancient marriage ceremonies. I thought I was going to be talking about hidden and obscured wisdom. You have to, they're offering it as dowry. They're offering their girdles and the bands that they're probably of gold. And the king responds, "Even so, such things beseem a woman's wear." I mean, keep them on. "Know then, with these a fair device there is. Speak then, what utterance doth this foretell? Unless to us thou givest pledge secure, what can thy girdle's craft achieve for thee? Strange votive tablets shall these statues deck. Mysterious thy resolve, avow it clear." And so what they're saying is that their girdles unlock the statue here, and that there are old books inside. "Swiftly to hang me on these sculptured gods, thy word is as a lash to urge my heart. Thou seest true, for I have cleared thine eye. Yea, and woes manifold, invincible, a crowd of ills sweep on me torrent-like. My bark goes forth upon a sea of troubles, unfathomed, ill to traverse, harborless. For if my deed shall match not your demand, dire, beyond shot of speech shall be the bane. Your death's pollution leaves me unto this land. Yet, if against your kin Egyptus' race, before our gates I front the doom of war, will not the city's loss be sore? Shall men for women's sake incarnadine, I don't know that word, for women's sake incarnadine the ground? But yet the wrath of Zeus, the suppliant's lord, I needs must fear, most avowed, most awful unto man, the terrors of his anger. Thou, old man, the father of these maidens, gather up within your arms these wands of suppliants, and lay them at the altars manifold of our country's gods, that all the town know by this sign that ye come here to sue. Nor, in thy haste, do thou say aught of me. Swift is this folk to censor those who rule. But if they see these signs of suppliants, it well may chance that each will pity you and loathe the young men's violent pursuit. God dang it, there's a spider right there. Give me a second. And so real quick, what he's saying right here is that if you go and you show them your magic wands and you put them in the middle of the town around all of the shrines to all of the town's gods, the town folk will know that you're here to sue for help. But don't mention that you talked to me, because this town is very quick to reject anything that might have the smell of politics. If it seems like I'm telling you how to do this, they're going to reject it. And if you've read the book of Ruth, you can understand that this is what people with wisdom, this is how they behave. They manipulate the rules in such a way that good things can happen. Good things. Good outcomes. Not bad outcomes. And this is not him manipulating the rules so a good outcome can happen for him. Stock market. And so, continuing on, he says, "But if they see these signs of suppliants, it well may chance that each will pity you, and loathe the young men's violent pursuit, and thus a fairer favor you may find. For to the helpless each man's heart is kind." What he's saying is, this is a good town. They have good hearts. They will want to help. They just will absolutely not help if they think that I want them to. Which makes sense. Danaeus, I'm going to change his voice to make him sound like an old man. I did not understand the context because you may or may not know there aren't stage notes here. I'm trying to read all the words that are on the screen except for the footnotes. The footnotes aren't helpful. Danaeus. "To us, beyond gifts manifold, it is to find a champion thus compassionate. Yet send with me attendants of thy folk, rightly to guide me, that I duly find each altar of your city's gods that stands before the fane, each dedicated shrine, and that in safety through the city's ways I may pass onwards, all unlike to yours. The outward semblance that I wear, the race that Nilus rears is all dissimilar, that of Inachus. Keep watch and ward, lest heedlessness bring death. Full oft, I ween, friend hath slain friend, not knowing whom he slew. the king of Argos goes on to say, "Go at his side, attendants, he saith well, on to the city's consecrated shrines, nor be of many words to those ye meet, the while this suppliant's voyager you lead." Exit Danaus with the attendants, and the chorus say, "Let him go forward, thy command obeying, but me how bidst, how assurest thou? Leave there the new-plucked boughs, thy sorrows sign. Thus beckoned forth at thy behest I leave them. Now to this level precinct turn thyself. Unconsecrate it is, and cannot shield me. We will not yield thee to those falcons' greed. What help? More fierce they are than serpents fell." Okay, so it's important that you know that this does very much have a setup not at all dissimilar to the Odyssey for Penelope. Those of you who are like super into the epic right now, that musical. And so what he's saying is, I'm not going to give you up to any suitor's greed. And so there's a historic moment where a queen of Egypt did send out letters to the Hittites asking for princes. So whether the author Aeschylus knew this or not is irrelevant. My point is that this setup is extremely historical. This is totally possible. And then she says, "What help? Right? How are you going to help me?" And he goes, "We spake thee fair. We told you the truth. Speak thou them there. Speak thou them fair in turn." And so now what he's saying is like, I've told you the truth. Now you tell me the truth about your suitors. And the chorus responds, "What marvel that we loathe them, scared in soul? Awe, as in awesome, awe, towards a king should other fears transcend." She's saying, what surprised you that we hate them? And he's saying, well, yeah, okay, but your awe of me should transcend your fear of them. And it should transcend any notion that this is self-evident. Speak, woman. "Thus speak, thus act, and reassure my mind. Not long thy sire shall leave thee desolate. But I will call the country's indwellers, and with soft words the assembly will persuade, and warn your sire what pleadings will avail. Therefore abide ye, and with prayer entreat the country's gods to compass your desire, the while I go this matter to provide persuasion and fair fortune at my side." Exit the king of Argos from the scene, and now we're left just with the chorus, and my battery's about to die, so I'm going to have to leave fairly soon, so we'll leave this at a part 1, but I will read this before I go. The chorus says, "O King of Kings, among the blessed," she's speaking to Zeus, "thou highest and thou happiest, listen and grant our prayer, and deeply loathing thrust away from us the young men's lust, and deeply drown in azure waters down and ever down, benches and rowers dark, the fatal and perfidious bark." A bark here is a boat. "Unto the maidens turn thy gracious care, think yet again upon the tale of fame, how from the maiden loved of thee there sprung mine ancient line, long since and many alleged sung. Remember, oh, remember thou whose hand did Io by a touch to human shape reclaim. For from this Argos erst our mother came, driven hence to Egypt's land, yet sprung of Zeus we were, and hence our birth we clem. And now have I roamed back unto the ancient track, where Io roamed and pastured among flowers, watched o'er by Argus eyes, through the lush grasses and the meadow bowers. Thence by the gadfly maddened forth she flies unto far lands and alien peoples driven, and following fate through paths of foam and surge, sees as she goes the cleaving strait divide Greece from the east land riven, and swift through Asian borders doth she urge her course o'er Phrygian mountains, sheep-clipped side. Thence, where the Mysian realm of Teuthras lies towards Lydian lowland highs, and o'er Cilician and Pamphylian hills and ever-flowing rills, and thence to Aphrodite's fertile shore, Cyprus. That's a subtext there, or a footnote I didn't mean to read. But you understand what she's saying. She's drawing a map of going out of east around Saudi Arabia to the northwest part of, well, Cyprus is not in the northwest part of Africa, but now that I've described Cyprus as being where Aphrodite comes from, and where 6th century Greeks knew Aphrodite was not original to Greece. And so if you hear neo-pagans talking about how Aphrodite is a Greek goddess original to Greece, understand that her name means sea foam, and that she comes, at least in this poet's mind, from Cyprus. Other people had her coming from Egypt, and other people had her coming from Libya. That's the point of the geography that we're drawing here in this play. It's not just to show off that Aeschylus knows the geography. The geography is important to the myth. The land of garnered wheat and wealthy shore. I'm going to start over. The land of garnered wheat and wealthy store, and thence deep stung by wild unrest, and by the winged fly that goaded her and drave, unto the fertile land the god possessed, where fed from our far-off snows life-giving Nilus flows. Nilus is the Nile, by the way. Urged on by Typho's strength, a fertilizing wave, she roves in harassed and dishonored flight, scathed by the blasting pangs of Paris' dread despite, and they within the land with terror shook and wanned. So strange the sight they saw, and were afraid. A wild, twi-natured thing, half heifer and half maid, whose hand was laid at last on Io, thus forlorn, with many roamings worn. And so the god that they're describing here is the half woman, half cow, heifer goddess, Bastet, I believe, who is also related to Wadjet, who is the Uraeus crown. And so Aeschylus knows what he's talking about here. Who bade the harassed maiden's peace return? Zeus, lord of time, etern. And so basically what the author here and what the chorus are saying is that we're not speaking blasphemy, we're not attributing superior magics to the Egyptians. What I'm saying is that Bastet is just another aspect of Zeus, because all of the gods in some way are aspects of Zeus, because Zeus in other language would be considered the Lord of Hosts. She's already called him the King of Kings. And so in some way, when you're talking about the Tetragrammaton or Adonai or Hashem, you're talking about a same thing, a thing that people knew by every name. They knew it was the same thing. The divine, the supernatural, in the words of John Keel, the ultra-normal. They all understood that the panpsychic universe was all of these things. All of them. And so that's what he's saying here, is that even Bastet, or whatever Bastet might have been the cat god, Hathor is the name of the cow goddess in Egypt, that even she is just another aspect of the panpsychic universe. Yea, by his breath divine, by his unscathing strength, she lays aside her bane and softened back to womanhood at length, sheds human tears again, then quickened with Zeus's veritable seed, a progeny she bare, a stainless babe, a child of heavenly breed, of life and fortune fair. His is the life of life, so say all men. His is the seed of Zeus. Who else had power stern Hera's craft to stay, her vengeance curse to loose? Yea, all from Zeus befell, and rightly wouldst thou tell, that we from Epiphus his child were born, justly his deed was done. Unto what other one of all the gods should I for justice turn? From him our race did spring, creator he and king, ancient of days and wisdom he, and might, as bark before the wind, so wafted by his mind, or mend, moves every counsel, each device aright. Beneath no stronger hand holds a weak command, no throne doth he abase him to adore. Swift as a word his deed acts out what stands decreed, and counsels of his heart forevermore. And then Danaus re-enters the scene. But what you need to understand is that this is a religious moment, and this is no different than any other religious scripture at the time. And so these declarations of what Zeus is like being exactly what contemporary Jews were saying necessarily doesn't mean that they were communicating or that they were borrowing from one another. What it means is that once you identify the God of being as the highest God, everything that everybody ever said about any other God is attributable to that God. And so what she's doing is she's saying that even though our mythology accounts for you kind of being the bad guy in the situation, what we're doing now is we're asking many thousands of years later for you to remove the curse that you put on our grandsire, and to help us out of this marriage that's going to keep us worshiping the gods of Egypt. Even though we acknowledge that we're worshiping you while we're worshiping the gods of Egypt, we would really like to come home. And what does that story sound like? It sounds like a woman in Moses' position. And so one thing that you can ask of the biblical canon is, like, where were the single women during the Exodus? Where is the sort of the gospel of Moses' mother and Moses' adopted mother, for example? Anyway, I'm not here to criticize a religion. I'm just here to tell you that if you didn't know that women played primary roles in the religion of Greece, and you wonder why they don't play primary roles in the religion of the Hebrews, there's an answer. And the answer is Canaan. Danaus returns. Take heart, my child. How did I do that? I did that more gruff. Take heart, my child. The land's heart is kind, and to full issue has their voting come. Actually, where is... Okay, we're good for a while. All hail, my sire. Thy word brings utmost joy. Say, to what issue is the vote made sure, and how prevailed the people's crowding hands? With one assent the Argives spake their will, and hearing my old heart took youthful cheer. The very sky was thrilled when high in air the concourse raised right hands and swore their oath. Free shall the maidens sojourn in this land, unharried, undespoiled by mortal weight. No native hand, no hand of foreigner shall drag them hence, if any man use force. Whoever of all our countrymen shall fail to come unto their aid, let him go forth beneath the people's curse to banishment. So did the king of this Pelagian folk plead on behalf of us, and bade them heed that never in the after time this realm should feed to fullness the great enmity of Zeus, the suppliant's guard, against itself, a twofold curse for wronging stranger guests who are akin withal, confrontingly, should rise before the city and be shown a ruthless monster fed on human doom. Such things the Argive people heard, and straight, without proclaim of herald, gave assent. Yea, in full conclave the Pelasgian folk heard suasive pleas, and Zeus through them resolved. And so you understand that what's happening here is that the king of Argos did go and speak on their behalf like he said he would, and that they did vote on their behalf like he said he would, and that what happened is that the Pelasgian king declared that if they broke their oath, a giant monster should rise up out of the sea and destroy their city. And so you understand, like, the context of things like Medusa. And so if you're understanding the Gorgons as anything other than statues outside graves from the time depicted in this story, keeping people out as a curse, that this thing, a Gorgon, is what's going to haunt and eat you, then you're doing it all the way wrong. And you really need to consider apologizing to her memory, because she was considered a real person for that tattoo on your leg. The chorus responds, "Arouse we now to chant our prayer for fair return of service fair, and Argos kindly will. Zeus, Lord of guest right, look upon the grace our stranger lips have won, in right and truth as they begun, guide them with favoring hand, until thou dost their blameless wish fulfill. Now may the Zeus-born gods on high hear us pour forth a votive prayer for Argos clan. Never may this Pelasgian earth, amid the fire rack, shrill the dismal cry on Ares, ravening lord of fight, who in an alien harvest mows down man." And so what she's talking about is Ares is the god that brings foreigners in to invade your land. And so what she's saying is because you're helping us, we're praying that never does Ares ever bring a foreigner to kill you. For For lo, this land had pity on our plight, and unto us were merciful and leal. To us, the piteous flock, who at Zeus's altar kneel. They scorned not the pleas of maidenhood, nor with the young men's will, hath their will stood. And so you understand that this is like kind of meeting at the Iliad and the Odyssey. So the Odyssey is about Xenia, and these women are asking for Xenia. And Xenia is a kind of, it's a particular kind of hospitality. And so what they're saying, the reason that it matters is if you're not actually of their kin, then they don't owe you any Xenia more than a slave deserves. You can go and live among our slaves. And that's why I asked you if you know the book of Ruth. The unearthly watching fiend invincible, the foul avenger, let him not draw near. For he, on roofs ill-starred, defiling and polluting, keeps a ghastly ward. And so it's important that you understand that Ares was like more monster than humanoid. He was more Cthulhu than he was Kratos. They knew his vengeance and took holy heed to us, the sister suppliants, who cry to Zeus, the Lord of purity. Therefore, with altars pure they shall the gods revere. Thus, through the boughs that shade our lips, fly forth in air, fly forth, O eager prayer. And they understood that when you prayed, the sound and the words and the meaning and the intention and the desire were all carried by Hermes with his winged shoes, right? Or winged ears? Whatever. And Nike also got involved. And that's why I read for you the Odyssey, where Nike is getting involved in women's prayers. Fly forth, O eager prayer! May never pestilence efface this city's race, nor be the land with corpses strewed, nor strained with civic bluid. The stem of youth, unplucked, to manhood come, nor Ares arise from Aphrodite's bower, the lord of death in bane, to waste our youthful flower. And so what they understood is that soldiers were best when they were occupied in brothels, is what that prayer means. Keep foreign enemies occupied in brothels. Nor Ares rise from Aphrodite's bower. Her bower is her prostitute's bed. Long may the old crowd to the altars kindled to consume gifts rich and manifold, offered to win from powers divine a benison on city and on shrine. Let all the sacred might adore of Zeus most high, the Lord of guest right and the hospitable board, whose immemorial law doth rule fate's scales aright. The garners of earth's store be full for evermore, and grace of Artemis make women's travail light. No devastating curse of fell disease this city sees, no clamor of the state aroused to war. Ares, from whom afar shrinketh the lute, by whom the dances fail. Ares, the lord of Whale. Swarm far aloof from Argos' citizens, all plague and pestilence, and may the archer god our children spare. The archer god is either Artemis or Apollo, I believe. May Zeus with foisson and with fruitfulness, I do not know why he chose a French word there, but thank you, translator. I'm going to read that with a French accent just because now I'm laughing. Mais Zeus with foisson and with fruitfulness. The lands each season bless, and quickened with heaven's bounty manifold, teem, grazing, flock, and fold. Wow, that was actually a really good French accent. Beside the altars of heaven's hallowing, loud let the minstrels sing, and from the pure lips float forth the harp-led strain in air, and let the people's voice, the power. Maybe this was originally, maybe the person is a French speaker. That sways the state in danger's hour. Be wary, wise for all, nor honor and dishonor hold. But ere the voice of war be bold, let them to stranger peoples grant fair and unbloody covenant. Justice and peace with... Okay, now I can't stop. Justice and peace with all. And to the Argive powers divine, the sacrifice of laurelid kind. That's actually kine, K-I-N-E. By right ancestral pay, among 3 words of power and awe, stands this, the third, the mighty law. Your gods, your fathers deified, ye shall adore. That's a quote. Let this abide, forever and for aye. A-Y-E means forever. So what she said is forever and ever. And then Danae says, Dear children, well and wisely have ye prayed. I bid you now not shudder, though ye hear new and alarming tidings from your seer. From this high place beside the suppliant shrine, the bark of our pursuers I behold, by divers tokens recognized too well. Lo, the spread canvas and the hides that screen the gunwale. Lo, the prow with painted eyes that see her onward pathway to descry, heeding too well the rudder at the stern that rules her coming for no friendly end. And look, the seamen, all too plain their race, their dark limbs gleam from out their snow-white garb. Plain too the other barks, a fleet that comes all swift to aid the purpose of the first, that now with furled sail and with pulse of oars, which smite the wave together, comes a land. But ye, be calm, and schooled, not scared by fear. Confront this chance, be mindful of your trust in those protecting gods, and I will hence, and champions who shall plead your cause aright, will bring unto your side. There come perchance heralds or envoys, eager to lay hand, and drag your captive hence. Yet fear them not, foiled shall they be, yet well it were for you, if ere with aid I come I tarry long, not by one step this sanctuary to leave. Farewell, fear not, soon shall the hour be born, when he that scorns the gods shall rule his scorn. Okay. So it's important that you understand that the Sea Peoples weren't only afeared of or legendary among Egyptians, and if you're going to tell a story about people that Egyptians are afeared of, you're going to tell a story involving the Sea Peoples. So that's what we've got here, whether you like it or not. I am going to have to wrap up this recording very soon. I was hoping that I could get at least to one of our main characters, but I cannot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this end part 1. Now that our threat has entered the stage, that seems like a good enough time to cut to commercial break. An hour and a half of reading for free. That seems like a good morning's work. right? Okay, thank you for that. If you enjoyed this on any level, please let me know. That comment keeps these coming, because if I know what you like, I know what to do parts 2 of. You see what I'm saying? And if you don't have to give me compliments, you don't have to tell me, oh, I like the voice you did, or oh, I like that joke. Those help. Those help a huge deal. But really, all I need is that thumbs up. Thumbs up tells me you watched, and that comment tells me how I can continue to reach you in a way that makes you feel good about clicking that thumbs up button. Okay? I'm not here for the analytics. You got to understand that until I cross 1,000 followers, which I'm only at 223, until I cross 1,000 followers, the analytics don't mean shit to me. I am trying to have a personal relationship with you. I'm trying to connect with you in a way that helps you learn what you need to tackle what you are going through. I don't need your help getting out of what I'm in. I love my shit. I love this tent. You don't understand, and you don't need to understand. You love your bedroom, right? If you don't, fix that. Today. Start fixing that today. Don't just sit and look at it and ask, how can I make it better, and then it's tomorrow. No. Fix it. You know what's wrong. I believe in you. Genuinely, I do. Make your home, your personal space, a shrine, and then, like Danaeus' advice, you can hold true to your faith in it, no matter what Ares sends after you. And if you have a Christian framework, ask me how to make this make sense to you in a Christian framework, because the Christians who made your framework sought answers in this shit. That's why we still have it today. If the medieval Christians didn't find this stuff useful, it wouldn't have made it to English. It wouldn't have made it out of the 12th century. All right, and so now my battery is all the way dead. I have to go. Take care of yourself, all right? I'm Midwestern. I don't like saying goodbye.